Ghost Cult Magazine welcomes in the guys from the Arson Choir. How are you guys doing today?
Good.
Doing good, man. How are you?
I am swell, considering it's the end of the world.
Yeah.
Just life things in 2020. I'm super stoked to talk about. You guys have a new EP coming up October 2nd. Invisible Monsters. A lot of fun stuff to talk about. Certainly, I try to open up all these interviews and just make sure before we start talking about music and art and other things, you guys are okay. I know you're out in California. It's on fire. Hopefully, your families are well and safe from viruses and police brutality and things like that before we talk about band stuff.
Yeah. I'm in Westminster, so not exactly a foresty location. You know, we still see the effects of the fires, the air quality, people in bad health, think about them as well. But, family staying healthy, and I hope you're being healthy where you are.
We're doing our best. New EP is coming. I really dug the last one, and so I've been jamming this new one out. And wow, a lot of like a definite step up from the one before it. So I wanted to kind of talk about, where there's like certain goals, writing songs going into this new one, songs, lyrics, vocals, things you guys want to talk about, ambitions for this new one before everyone else gets to hear it.
We didn't really have any goals with the songs. It really just came about because I had a bunch of riffs that I just needed to get off my brain, and luckily Phil is my hype man, my main guy that I go to for writing everything. So it just turned out to be, when he joined the band, it was just a perfect combination. It was literally the thing that I needed to get these ideas out, and his lyrics and his vocals are just monstrous. And hopefully that gets translated in the record.
Yeah, and additionally, when I joined the band, I also play drums, and I just like playing music just for the enjoyment of it. So maybe 2 or 3 months into me being in the band, I'm like texting Marc, and I'm like, "Hey man, you want to get together and just play music, just jam? I'll play drums. Doesn't have to be anything." And he's like, "Yeah, man, let's do it." And then that became just the riffs and song skeletons that became Invisible Monsters. And just our vibe and our good chemistry. We like some of the same bands. We have some meeting points that really help spark the creativity that went into the EP. So that's one of the things I like about this record, is it just comes from an organic place. Just me and the bro just hanging out and just riffs together.
Right on. I like that. Obviously, there's a lot of like really cool like mathcore-y stuff on here, but I wanted to hear from each of you about like your own influences, or what are the things that you guys, where's the Venn diagram connect on, and where does it separate that makes the Arson Choir music as it is today?
If I had to pick the Venn diagram of bands, for me and Marc, I would say, we definitely have 18 Visions in one circle. We have Dillinger in another circle. We have E-Tid in another circle. There's some Converge in there. There's some The Chariot. And those are probably the main bands that I feel like me and Marc merge on, and then we also cherry pick from other bands like Duck Duck Goose. What else? Marc, throw some out there.
The Bled, Spitfire was a big one we connected on.
Yep.
Scarlet, Psyopus, Heavy Lolo was a big one.
Totally.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of influence in what we do, and I would hope that we've done a way to kind of go like, okay, like that's cool, and we appreciate what those bands did, and just kind of went like, let's do our flavor of what the East Coast is doing, because a lot of those bands that we named came from the East Coast, and we were kind of lucky enough to be on the opposite side of that. So it just kind of worked out that way. It's like the LA version of an East Coast sound.
Right on. And, obviously you can take inspiration from anything and Filter It Through Your Own Way, which is what I think your band kind of sounds like. It doesn't sound like any of those bands specifically, but a little bit, like oh, I hear that, I hear that. I love the Converge name drop. I was thinking also like Botch and Burst and bands like that, like old school bands like it from the Converge early days, maybe early noisy Cave in there a little bit too and stuff like that. Not quite the later Cave In, but yeah, man, and the Chariot, and that makes a lot of sense also guitar wise and like riffs, Dillinger riffs and things like that I also admire. So I think anybody that likes any of those bands would totally dig you guys. But there's also your own thing. I think there's a little special thing of your own in there too. That maybe maybe the next generation of bands that'll come along be like, we like the Arson Choir. Like maybe they'll drop you guys the same way
Oh,
you just name dropped those bands.
that'd be nice. I definitely think there's a resurgence in interest in the mathcore, like spazcore genre. So it'd be interesting to see what like the next step is going to be.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like we are a byproduct of being in a music scene that got very clean, very produced, and we just wanted to swing with the axe that was just the opposite of that, just dirty riffs, like chaotic, madness, just putting it all together to really bring it back to the chaotic pile on, hardcore bands that we used to love when we were younger, and just the bands that gave us the feeling that, oh, we just gotta go get in there. The Call of the Wild is like probably like the most important thing about the band and our vibe. Just we want to bring an energy that makes people want to move, or that confronts some of the issues that we have going on in the world. Just either make you think or make you rage.
Right on. And helping me with my segues, because that's literally my next question was about lyrics and kind of concepts of songs. A lot of places to jump off, but I have to obviously, just like the whole story of this year beside this virus has got to be, just the protests and murders and police brutality and politics, and there's no escaping it. And I think some of the lyrics are, particularly poignant. Revenge My Love kind of grabbed me personally. I'm not trying to be too literal, because you certainly could mean anything with lyrics. Like not everybody writes like boy meets girl, like Beatles lyrics. More people are like Deftones lyricists these days. The Deftones book of lyrics, like could be anything. But like I feel like there's a definite direction in some of the songs, some of the lyrics, and not pulling no punches also. So I wanted to ask about that.
Yeah, you hit the nose on that. Pulling no punches is, the direction I step in when that goes to writing lyrics, and just you're right. Police brutality, and it's become inescapable this year. But for many people, it's something that's been in their lives, for a long time. Like this is a song that I wrote, in 2018. Seeing different unfortunate victims of police violence then, and just being in this band and having this aggressive sound, and having this the proper vehicle to really get in people's face about it, because I feel like we've gotten the discourse has gotten really polite just in general political theater. No one wants to say anything that's that steps too over the line, that makes them seem like a socialist or you're anti-American. And it's just I hear all of these things, and it just makes me go, I want to just cut through that and just say how I feel as someone that's been affected and had interactions with the police. And it's just some of this stuff is gone on for way too long, and hardcore is supposed to be abrasive. It doesn't have to be political, but if you're not speaking from the heart, if you're not leading with the contents of what's going on inside of you, I mean, then you could just sit down and keep that at home, as far as I'm concerned.
Right on. I know me personally, I'm super progressive, but I also acknowledge that the rest of the country is not ready for that. my brand of progressivism is like I'm to the left of like Castro and Bernie. So like I know that doesn't work for most Americans, but at the same time we just have a myriad of issues right now just can't turn away from. Doesn't matter where you are politically, elections don't they matter, but like about these issues, we got to fix this country, we got to fix this world. As much as I'd like, certain things to work in a more, global sense better, but like yeah, there has to be this kind of stuff has to I have people who are like, when is it going to end? I don't know. When is 400 years of slavery going to end? When is police murder going to end? When is all these things going to I don't know when it's going to end. Like this is in my lifetime. I'm glad to see this very sustained, all the protesting being very sustained and the focus being very sustained and the unity being very sustained. I'm really happy about that personally. I was going to ask you guys, does it affect you, and how do you, you guys go out to the protests at all, or do you have friends that are out there and hopefully they're safe?
Yeah, we have we've been out protesting. I've been out protesting. We have friends that are out there. It's a very uh, poignant issue is very important, and I think that it's finally catching on that we are not alone in this. The issue that affects some will soon affect all. With the Black Lives Matter protests, you're seeing um, the movement speak up for non-black people exclusively. We've seen incidences of police brutality across the racial spectrum, and seeing that everyone is affected by this. The police brutality doesn't just stop with Black Americans. It happens to everyone across the board, and so our seeing people galvanize and get out there and speak up is, it's something that, we're proud of, I'm proud of, and I want to be a part of that and just help, you know, put my, 2 cents in the bucket and get the conversation going. Because even just writing a song like Revenge My Love, and that can spark a dialogue. One kid shows another kid, the band, and then they dig into the lyrics and, what is this about? What are they saying here? And then that just gives another gateway to hopefully, win over a closed mind somewhere. So it's just all about, adding to the conversation and, being a positive voice in the anarchy that's 2020, I guess.
Cool. I gotta give a shout out to. I definitely caught the "Bury Me in the Ocean" lyric that I know is from probably something else, but was dropped in Black Panther from Marvel Studios. And obviously, you couldn't know that Chadwick Boseman was going to pass away when you wrote that. But like, yeah, Killmonger is definitely the best villain because he's like believes he's right. So he's like my favorite Marvel villain actually ever. And the best villains, including in our real world, villains that have sort of a self-righteousness and believe that they're on the right side of history, always make the best villains, even if they're terrible people. So that shout out in that lyric, not to take away from the song or the lyric at all with nerdiness. But.
No. There's definitely some, nerd quality injected into everything we do, just because Phil and myself we're gigantic comic and movie nerds. So anytime that we can kind of put a little something, like we've had merch ideas, we've had shirt ideas that all have something kind of nerdy stuck in there.
Yeah, it's that's just a part of my process, dip a little science fiction in with the rock and roll. It makes it a little bit more palatable. So, someone can listen to that song and, they can just rage on and be totally content. And then someone could hear that chorus. And then my hope is just to run into some kid at a show and be like, hey, is that from da 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 da? And I'm like, yes, gold star. I love the, being a lyricist and front man. You pour your heart into these songs, and it's very fulfilling to see people appreciate what you write, and then even on the little deeper level, get the little nuggets of personality and just references from across the board, because that can be another conversation, you know. Oh, someone can see us as this big old political band and then be like, hey, so do these guys like comic books and Doctor Who and Spider-Man too? Like, all right, I can get into that. It's just a way to build the bridge.
On. And of course, the Gore was right. Obviously, big Thor fan here. So Gore the God Butcher is the villain of the upcoming Thor movie, and I believe it's going to be Christian Bale. They haven't confirmed it yet. Easily another incredible reference and an incredible character for people who are not up on their Thor comics. But yeah, pretty amazing lyrics on that one too. Actually, I gotta say that. So probably my favorite song and my favorite like song lyrics combination on the new EP.
Yes, dude. Thank you. And yeah, and that song, you know, the content, you know, kind of anti-religious establishment, you know, the very state of what we have going on right now. It's just war, pollution, you know, just authoritarianism and all that kind of stuff. And just that character really just kind of embodies just some of the nastier, you know, sentiments that I have sometimes. And you know, I remember reading Thor, the Thor God of Thunder, and just that character and just his motivations and all that kind of stuff. It just really touched me. And so being able to flip that into, you know, rowdy hardcore music is always a win. And then down the line, if they do use Gore, the God Butcher, for Thor 4, it's just like, yes, like, see my guy finally on the screen, like, victory.
Terrific. Any concerns about kind of putting out music in a weird time in the world when you can't go do a record release show and hand it to somebody at a merch table? Or, you know, is there any extra, you know, you guys doing anything extra to promote that you might not have normally done, because obviously we can't go out and hand it to people mostly?
I wouldn't say there was more that we did. I feel like what it came down to with this band is very much we don't know what happens day to day in our lives, and we don't know what can happen next. And a big thing was this music needs to come out, and regardless of what's going on in the world, like, we have to put this out. And you know, a big thing for this band is we don't know that this band is going to be forever. We don't know that like everyone can play music forever. So we felt like it was necessary to get this music out, continue working, continue some kind of sense of normality, because you know, I might not be here tomorrow. Phil might not be here tomorrow. The rest of the band, you know, something could happen where somebody can't play anymore. And for me, it's always been a privilege to be able to pick up your guitar and go, this might be the last time I pick up the guitar. And that gives you a different kind of appreciation for just being able to do music and just being able to do this. So we felt like, no, like, let's get this out regardless of what's going on. It still needs to come out. We have a good team behind us. We have, you know, a great publicist, and then War Against Records behind us. And it felt like everything just kind of lined up the right way.
And then additionally, I feel like we were very prepared. Just we, you know, in that mindset of, you know, you don't know what can happen tomorrow. You know, we documented things and just really tried to soak up as much of the experience and bottle it up as we possibly could. And then so we have more little treats and behind the scenes, you know, things for people coming down the line so that they can, you know, take a peek behind the curtain and just get to see the blood and sweat that went into getting this record made. And, you know, I think the times that we're in is kind of be a motivating force, and, you know, just, you know, the desire to get some material out into a landscape where people are, you know, trapped inside, you know, they're, you know, they need something to help, you know, get them through the day-to-day trapped in your cell minutia, and is being able to have the privilege of having music to release, and, you know, seeing all that hard work pay off, you know, and the reception that we've had with this EP so far has been really awesome, and it just um, and it makes me appreciate the people that are into our band and that, you know, have been with us since before I joined the band. You know, stayed with us through multiple lineup changes, and then like, who's this new guy? And now that this record is done, you know, being able to um, interact with people and hear, you know, just some of the nice feedback. And for me personally, it just motivates me to try and make more music. To, you know, this may not be forever, but while I have this group of guys that have my back, I just feel like we're making the best music we can, and I just want to keep get if I can get one or two more out before I squeeze the life out of Marc and the boys, then hey, that's a win.
Yikes. That took a weird turn, but all right, I got you. I feel you. And nobody's a vampire here, I promise. And
I didn't say that.
and kind of a last thing I like. Yeah, I said it. You didn't. I like a lot of I like to do a lot of these interviews, and even if I talk to people all over the world, I'm very concerned about the future of local and independent music, right? And so LA is very similar to Brooklyn. The big venues, the big theaters, the Live Nation buildings are going to take care of themselves. They're not in jeopardy. Maybe they've laid off a lot of people, which sucks totally. But I'm concerned about little venues. So like LA to me has always had the big places and the legendary strip places, but also like 1720 is an essential place. We cover a lot of shows there, and I worry about the scene there. So what I was going to ask you guys as scene guys in your scene, like what can we do to like help preserve these venues? I don't want anyone to lose their place or their job, but like if they do close down because our government's not helping anybody, unlike every other country in the world, what can we do to like get new venues started? Like, is that something almost I feel like the rest of the scene has to take that responsibility now, because I think everybody else is just like, whatever. It's hard.
One thing that I've been seeing that I thought was a good idea, Chain Reaction in Orange County, they started selling shirts just to help keep them floating along, just to support the venue, and just keep keep the lights on, keep the roof above their heads mentality going. I thought that was really, really cool. And then also, I would say if there are any punk collectives, any kind of groups of like-minded individuals that may, you know, try and take advantage of some of the available small real estate and started their own little DIY venues, or I feel like you're right. The scene itself does need to put their hand into the mix as far as keeping the mid and small tier level venues alive, or, you know, possibly step it up and take over or start new endeavors to keep the scene alive, because, you know, the big markets, Live Nation, they are going to take care of their corporate bottom line. But as far as, you know, the small bands that are just starting up, that'll become the bands of tomorrow, and just the bands that are in it right now to stay alive, I feel like you know, everyone wearing masks, you know, to help get us back to a sense of normalcy faster, so that some sort of shows can come back. That would be a great thing that everyone can do. And then just be prepared for when the gates are open to really get hands-on in the environment, as far as venues and possibly building from the ground up again.
Yeah, no, you nailed it. Most of my thing has to do with the infrastructure that has to go into having a venue and the personnel that goes on in there. Because we've, as a band, we've been lucky enough to make a lot of friends and meet a lot of these people that aren't just, a name on a list. The promoter, the owner, the security. Like, we have friends that all do those jobs, and it's hard to see them not working. It's hard to see a lot of our friends in bands not being able to do what they do. This band thrives on the small to mid-tier venues just because that's what we like. We like very intimate, small places. So like you said, places like something like a 1720 or a program, that's our bread and butter. That's what we rely on to make this band continue to work. That being said, if the scene doesn't support those bands that keep those venues alive, like it's a very symbiotic relationship. If the people aren't there to support the bands aren't going to be there to support the venues aren't going to be there to support the bands. Like they all survive on each other. So if one thing's going to fall apart, it kind of all falls apart. The tough thing about Los Angeles, and this is why we do our best to support our friends and support the bands that we work with, is it's not a competition. Like, you guys got to stop seeing it as this band does this, so I got to do this, or I got to do this better. Like, you do good, so we do good, so let's make sure everybody does good. And when everybody does good, the whole scene does good. That's really what it comes down to for me. The venue thing is going to be tough, but it is possible. It's getting people to wear their mask and let's get past this as a community, instead of going, well, you're right, I'm wrong, and it turns into some big political thing that's not necessary. Let's join as a community and go, like, if you want this to end, it's going to be a group effort.
Very much so.
Word. I like that. Well said, guys. Thank you very much for that very thoughtful final answer. Invisible Monsters is the EP, the Arson Choir. You guys, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate you sharing your story with me and my followers. And we're going to continue to watch you guys with great interest.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.